You're listening to the All Night Society, an actual play podcast brought to you by Queen's Court Games.
Well, friends, we enter once again into a vampire story. I suppose in a small way we should feel grateful that what is facing Maya, what is facing Anastasia, is not the usual brand of vampire problem. It's not petty turf wars, it's not concerns about hunger or rage. It's not even concerns about humanity, about remaining true to the you that you were before you died. Aside from the slightly spooky elements that follow every Malkavian through the night, this is an ordinary mystery about who we really are, where we come from, about what it means to be of a specific line and the consequences that follow. Maya, you find yourself in the unenviable position of being asked to guide a wayward spirit through a world they do not understand. And that by itself would be a challenge for any person, but you are not possessed of a skill set that one might call motherly or mentorly, right? There's something instrumental that drives you, not just your La Sombra DNA, but the same things that made you you in the 1980s and the 1990s. And Anastasia, you are not the only lost young woman in the city of Chicago. You are not the first one to be taken advantage of by a powerful man with ulterior motives. But you perhaps are the first one that sees him very literally in your dreams, who can feel his fingers not reaching up your skin, but into it. Very literally a puppeteer. Now, these things left alone would make a perfectly complicated story. But that's not enough for us. We're going to make it worse. Because that's the nature of life as a kindred, as unlife as kindred. Wouldn't be Chicago if these stories didn't find their way smushed together. Now, Maya, you know full and well that you'll be reporting to the prince soon. Elysium has been summoned. Presumably to deal with Sierra's elevation and the small triumph of the clan La Sombra in the days to come. But there's other business afoot, first with Alex, and second with Anastasia. I would never call your loyalties to the Camarilla into question. You've demonstrated so far a wholesale willingness to leave the Sabbat behind you and ingratiate yourself to the new order. But I think you and I both know that only goes so far.
I never really understood why everyone just assumed we'd be okay with this switch. Has it not bothered anyone else yet?
Oh, it's bothered lots of people. As I recall, that's why they're asking you to murder your elders to prove your loyalty.
This is a nightmare. I don't feel like having to choose between Camarilla, Sabbat. I can at least lean into the La Sombra. And I would rather not have Sierra be blindsided by something she thinks I orchestrated. So I'm going to orchestrate it.
Kind of nice when self-preservation and the public-facing, morally correct thing line up.
I don't know that I would call this morally correct. I do find that sometimes, if you come in looking like you're going to put all your cards on the table, they don't ask about the other cards. So I'm going to be the bigger person and reach out to Sierra about our new baby Malkavian.
Well, then I have two questions, and we can answer them in any order. First, how does one approach this topic with the soon-to-be La Sombra Primogen of Chicago? And the second, as the card that will soon be on the table, how are you feeling all about this, Anastasia?
Just fine.
I suppose it's par for the course now. People digging into your brain, rushing you from meeting to meeting. What's one more night? Do you suppose it'll wear thin? Is there a part of you that will eventually get tired of being the thing that is shown off, the pawn that is played, the thing that is talked about and not to?
Oh, eventually. But for now, I'm just getting to know everyone, and they're all getting to know me. Let it take its due course.
That's an amount of grace I don't think many other vampires would show. Strange, then, that Jason Newberry's Childa is the most understanding and human of all of us so far. Well, Maya, we know you're not sending an email to Sierra's office. How is it you arranged this meeting?
You're never going to get tired of asking how I deal with this shit.
Call it world building.
I have people for that.
That's right. The new assistant.
Renee 2.0.
Is that what this person is labeled as in your contacts in your Rolodex?
Excuse you. I am a gentrifier. I am a capitalist, but I am not a monster. And Liz is amazing.
I'm amazed you made it through the 80s and whatever basic training the La Sombra put you through with this level of respect for the little people intact.
Well, if you've spent any time in any sort of corporate structure, you understand at a certain point that the people on top have no idea what's happening. We are formed of little people.
Smells like the title of the next book.
It's not a bad idea, actually.
Then the assistant writes the email or makes the phone call and delivers the message, no matter what the subject line is. Vague as it has to be in a world populated by the Second Inquisition, I'm sure it's going to get Sierra's attention quickly enough.
We're just two women who are going to go get our nails done.
And it turns out there is, in fact, a nail parlor in the Diamond Yama. Only a few floors were damaged. The rest of the building is still intact. A new set of paint, some very fancy smoke smell removal machines. I'm sure hotels have them. What do you say, like the 30th floor on that mid-level sky lobby where you can go take your drinks out onto the balcony and see the city? It'd be around there, right?
Most hotels worth staying in have a good spa situation.
There it is. Then set the scene for me. We know where the meeting is happening. What does it look like?
I have to give Sierra credit. If she had anything to do with the architecture of this place, she did not fall into the dreaded aesthetic of peach marble and gold finishing anything. Ugh. This place is a meditation podcast given shape. They've really leaned into the Asian inspiration, which, sure. And everywhere you look, bamboo mats covering the floors, calming eucalyptus scent wafting through from hidden diffusers. Instead of your rows and rows of chairs with the foot baths and the hand baths, they actually put people in private rooms that can accommodate 2 to 3 people. Not that this place is terribly busy in the middle of the night, but 24-hour service is 24-hour service.
That's how you get that 5th star.
Besides, they need all the space in the entryway to accommodate a very interesting modernist take on falling water as a fountain. Just cubes. Bad cubes.
It's required by law. I think at a certain point when you reach a level of fancy, you have to have a fountain that is just different shaped granite blocks with water flowing down them. It's part of the rules.
Yeah. I'm sure somebody likes it.
Well, I don't know about somebody's, but there's somebody else's whose opinion I can ask about. Anastasia, you don't strike me as the kind of person who would have frequented this place in your living days, and we know that Jason didn't let you out of the house much. What's your reaction to this meeting? Maya has sprung it upon you. You're going somewhere important, and it looks like this as you walk in. What's that feeling like?
I feel a little out of place and overwhelmed. I've never knew that people would get pampered while doing business meetings before. So this is an entire culture that is unknown to me, and I'm fascinated, but also just grotesquely amused, I guess is a way to put that. Definitely curious, just taking it all in, and just I never realized how many colors you could change your nails to.
Truly a spectrum that cannot be accurately described. It just stretches infinitely in each direction. It's nice, though. Considering your condition, this is the only way to really change your appearance. The little bits of flair that you can paint onto skin, paint onto nails.
I definitely snuggle into my hoodie a little bit more.
I suppose it makes an interesting pair, the two of you walking in dressed as you are, Maya looking very much like Maya and Anastasia looking very much like Anastasia. Thankfully, Maya is correct. It is not busy at this time of night. There aren't rows and rows of Karens throwing angry looks at Anastasia for daring to enter their place looking like that. In fact, perhaps because of the hour, or perhaps because of the topic matter coming, the only person you see is the attendant at the front counter. She knows who you are. She smiles politely, no words, just extending an arm to lead you back to one of the private rooms that Maya described. Sierra waits inside, looking immaculate and elegant as ever. There's no smile on her face. Maya would recognize that. There's business to be done. We can be polite later. But what would a nail salon meeting be without all the attending services? And it is now that you have arrived, you are gestured into the chairs. Sierra gives a look to the woman who's escorted you back. And a few minutes later, 3 likely Gould individuals come forward. Now, being possessed of a Midwest upbringing and entirely too much masculinity, I don't actually know the process, how you present your fingernails or your toenails. That's beyond me. But assume that happens as the meeting commences. As you settle in, Sierra gives Anastasia a nice long look.
I stare back.
I wonder how long that will last. Sierra does appreciate a challenge, but she's also a busy woman.
At some point, we've got to get out of the chair or we're going to get pruny.
Well, then, Maya, it falls upon you. How do you interrupt this contest of predators?
I super don't want to. I'll let this go on as long as it needs to. I'm curious to see who blinks first, and then I remembered they don't need to blink. I also don't need to clear my throat, but I'm going to. So, this is a new friend, for lack of a better phrase.
Yes, I see. We haven't had the pleasure of being introduced. Sierra Van Burris. Soon, Primogen.
Hello.
Anna, use your words.
Hello, I'm Anastasia.
Anastasia, a pleasure. I find myself at something of a disadvantage. Miss Lagasse seems to understand why you are important and worthy of my time, but I don't.
I didn't feel like disclosing this over any kind of written log. Anastasia claims to be Jason fucking Newberry's Childa.
I suppose if this were a movie, that would be the moment where you hear the snip of scissors gone wrong and someone pulls their hand back, but Sierra is not one for pain and also not one to show reaction generally. Maya, you spent enough time with her that you might be able to see her jaw just tense ever slightly, just the slightest hint of a wrinkle showing up where it wouldn't before. I see. As I understand it, Jason Newberry's progeny were accounted for.
That was how I understood it. And unless Anna's just a crazy Malkavian, we were wrong.
Well, they're all crazy. No offense, Anastasia.
None taken.
Are you still lingering with the witch?
Oh, Ivy. Yeah. Sorry, it took me a second.
I assume she's done her due diligence, the Tremere being what they are.
She did, and that is the only reason I trusted Anna enough to bring her here. Otherwise, oh no. Otherwise, easily disposed of. Right, sweetie?
Whatever you say, best friend.
Does the prince know?
Absolutely not. However, we are planning to... we is a strong word. The plan is to introduce her at Elysium tomorrow.
Then you've done me a great service, Miss Lagasse, bringing me this information ahead of time.
I didn't want you to be blindsided.
No, it would be a very complicated matter considering the political winds of change. I'm interested in your analysis. If the prince doesn't know she exists, I presume no one else in the city does, and if they do, they aren't speaking. Why would we introduce her at all?
Because if Jason fucking Newberry is still around and interacting, and she is discovered, that is going to be more trouble than it's worth. And I'd rather get ahead of it.
I see.
I would rather not be implicated in either covering up anything that has to do with him, aiding and abetting anything that has to do with him, or looking stupid enough that we let this get away from us.
I say I can't decide which of those things would be worse, being caught in one of Jason Newberry's schemes or appearing uninformed. But I suppose in either case, I have to agree with your position. Anastasia, what do you know about the man who sired you?
Well, he's my father. He paid for my schooling and education. He's been very kind to me. He talks to me sometimes. We have a good relationship, I would say.
You can see one eyebrow raise on Sierra's face. He speaks to you.
Sometimes. We have conversations about random things all the time. Toothpaste, for example. Cats. Recipes. World domination. Markers.
As you do.
See the problem I'm having?
Yes. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but we find ourselves in a position, I assume you agree, where there's even odds that she's a lunatic who we could throw into a barrel and bury at the bottom of the lake with no consequence, or the man responsible for more suffering in my life and unlife than any other kindred has himself a little vessel.
I would rather not gamble on this.
I understand. Anastasia, and please understand, under normal circumstances, we could spend so much more time getting to know each other, but given the situation we find ourselves in, I have to be a little direct. Where is your father now?
I'm not sure. Somewhere far away. His voice is sometimes faint, and sometimes it sounds like it's a really bad connection, like when you're out of cell service.
I see. Do you hear other people speak to you?
All the time, but definitely my dad the clearest.
Mm-hmm. And other people, I assume some of them are people you know exist, and others perhaps not.
Well, take for example, I'm walking down the street. I see a guy, he's selling cashews. I can hear his voice sometimes about the exact way the nut should be roasted. He's talking to himself about the perfect char.
And this is different.
It's all about the same.
Mm-hmm.
I think that even if she's not specifically Jason Newberry's Childa and she is just a lunatic, maybe it's worth having one on hand.
Well, either she's confused, and I do apologize, Anastasia. I know how it can feel to have people discuss you and right in front of you without addressing your presence, but it's business.
Oh, it's been happening for a while.
We'll try to fix that as the problems are resolved, but there are problems because, and at this point, she leans forward a little bit, and it's the same energy that she brings to meetings when someone is maybe about to talk over her, or she's explained something and then the person is asking questions in bad faith to embarrass her. It's just that slight 2 or 3 inches of lean, and the eyes narrow just a little bit, and you can see her mustering every ounce of seriousness that a form that is honestly not that intimidating in size can muster. You see, either one of 2 things is true. Either you are crazy, you believe this honestly, but none of it is true, and if we investigate it, we've just wasted a considerable amount of time. Or you're telling the truth. You are who you are, born of a man who tried to kill me, tried to kill Maya, has tried to kill a great number of Lasombra, and, if I might add, very nearly ruined this fantastic hotel. Maya, I think you know where I would stand on this issue, and I appreciate you bringing it to me ahead of time.
Anytime.
I lean towards Maya. I like her. She seems nice.
She is nice.
The smile that you receive from Sierra lets you know exactly how nice she is. It wouldn't do well for us politically for the prince to know you brought this to my attention first. When it's raised at Elysium or in the Primogen Council meetings, I will act duly surprised. Please don't do anything in the next few nights that would embarrass me when I do.
I never intend to do so.
I have the utmost faith that Miss Legacy can handle this accordingly. Anastasia, and I'm sorry, I missed your last name.
It's Khan.
Miss Khan, I know we've just met, and I will take you at your word that you haven't had a lot of time to get involved with kindred business. But Maya will tell you I am an excellent friend to have in this city, and if you're willing to cooperate with me on these matters, specifically the matters of your father and other business, political and otherwise, that becomes adjacent along the way, I will see that you are rewarded.
I do like making new friends.
Wonderful. Well, then, shall we move to the matter of color? And she gestures towards the assorted polishes and other words that one would encounter in a spa.
You've been listening to the All Night Society, an actual play podcast brought to you by Queen's Court Games. If you've enjoyed your stay, consider supporting us on Patreon for access to exclusive art, audio, and private fan-only games. For more content, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok at Queen's Court Games, or on Twitter at Queen's Court RPG.